Cam Bertrand, what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm good, man. Thanks for having me.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm a big fan. I know you're actually in Florida here where I'm at. So, how's the whole quarantine situation been for you?
I'm good at quarantine. Like, I like it. I like not having to go out, and then when I do go out, people don't expect you to interact with them. That's kind of dope. Like, nobody's like extra friendly, and you're just like, yeah, I get to be in my own little bubble. It's the perfect amount of weird. Like, it's the most Florida thing ever. Like, I'm surprised we didn't jump on this bandwagon sooner. Like,
Well, speaking of that, man, it's kind of cool wearing a mask. I mean, don't get me wrong. Obviously, the whole pandemic thing is, unfortunate, but the fact that, we can wear a mask and you're just talking about being in your own bubble. So you're like kind of in your own thoughts when you wear your mask.
yeah, when the thing started and everybody's wearing masks, I was like, I'm never gonna wear a mask. Masks are dumb, and I prolonged it for a long time. Then now I bought two new masks because they look cool, and I'm like, bet, like this is a new fashion statement for me. I'm not wearing it to protect anybody. I don't care about anyone's health. I just do it because it looks cool.
Oh, yeah, yeah. You can also like have your own mask, your own brand, just
Yeah,
have.
I just bought one today. I literally just got home from the mall and I bought a new mask. I bought one of the like the ninja ones that like cover your whole face. It's great.
Oh, man. Well, since this whole quarantine, I saw that you actually had a special that you did on Zoom. So how do you like that in comparison to the doing the stand up at the bars and clubs and everything?
Oh, I hated it. Yeah, it's just different. And I'm such a nerd when it comes to stand up and doing stand up the right way, as I would call it. But it's like I'm a fan of comedy clubs and doing it in a club with low ceilings and everybody intimate. Doing it over like Zoom, doing it over the internet, you don't really get that same feedback. You don't really get to interact with people as much. The delay, there's a disconnect. It's not the same.
And you perform both at the colleges and at clubs. So which do you prefer between those two?
The clubs. I like the kids like at the colleges, like they're very open to like you can talk about anything, but it's like the directors of the colleges, they're kind of weird about like you can't talk about this. This is a sensitive thing.
Mm.
But all the kids are like, dude, talk about some real stuff. So it's like you're battling two different things. Like
Mm.
whereas at the club, the only thing you have to worry about is like if people are laughing, the person who owns the club does not care. Like
Okay.
as long as people have a good time. I'm a big comedy club kid, man. I grew up in the comedy clubs. Like that was like my thing. So yeah, it's not even like close. I love clubs.
So what do you mean that you grew up in a comedy club? Like, did you start working early there or something like that?
Yeah. Like I spent pretty much the last 7 years just like growing up at comedy clubs. You know what I mean? Like it's all I've done. Like I'm a nerd. Like I'll
Mhm.
spend when I started at Side Splitters Comedy Club in Tampa, and I would spend there's 7 shows on a weekend, one Thursday, two Friday, three Saturday, one Sunday, right? I would go to all 7 shows and just be in the back, just watching, studying, learning, talking to everybody, trying to figure out, how to be better.
Mhm.
And yeah, it's all I've known. So, when you just focus that much time and energy into one thing, that's who you become.
Yeah.
So the clubs gave me a lot of that.
Hmm. Well, you've actually performed at a lot of interesting venues. One that I heard was at a laundromat in Orlando, and another
Yeah,
at a flea market for a couple of teenagers.
yeah,
So,
that
how
was
is
fun.
performing at those places?
It's humbling. It's very it's weird, but I'm also the guy who like I'll take a gig that I know is going to be terrible just because I'm like, this is interesting.
Yeah.
Um, I just did a parking lot show at Raymond James Stadium, like in the parking lot. It was at midnight on a Sunday. I was like, this is going to be bad. It turned out really dope, but it was like, it's just one of those things to be able to say you did it.
Yeah, yeah.
Be like, I played a laundromat. I played Raymond James Stadium, even though it was in the parking lot on like a weird blow up stage. It was crazy. But yeah, I like weird shows, but they definitely humble you. They make you realize that not all stand up is comedy clubs. It makes you appreciate the clubs more.
No, if anything, that laundromat idea is not a bad idea. I would love to see stand up at a laundromat, especially just doing my laundry, man.
Yeah.
That's quite entertaining because you get bored, doing your laundry at a laundromat.
Yeah, it was weird because like there was people who genuinely were like, "Oh man, this is a good way to pass my time." Then there was other people who were like, "This is not what I came for." Like, you know what? I'm gonna go to the laundromat across the street because there's 500 on this block.
Well, and I heard that Dave Chappelle is the reason why you're actually into comedy. So, what is it about him that really got you into that career?
Honesty. he made it look like so much fun without it being forced. You know, watching him do stand up was the greatest introduction to stand up comedy because it's just like it looked like the most fun and it looked like the most real thing ever. Like he was talking about real things in a funny way. He was just so lovable and so he just felt like a real person, you know, doing a job that doesn't seem that real, you
Yeah.
know. And immediately it clicked. I was like, I want to do that. Like that looks crazy. I've met him 8 times, and every time it's life changing. Like he's incredible.
What's the best experience that you had with Dave Chappelle?
The first time I met him, I was sitting in the back of the Comedy Store, and there was like a little bit of space between me and like the next seat because like it was just crowded. And he sat down right next to me, and we're literally like touching knees. And I was like, oh my god, like this is my idol, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
And I was like, I have to say something to him, but the show was going on, so I was like, not like a full conversation, but I just like looked over, I stuck my hand out, I was like, you're the GOAT. And he shook my hand. He's like, "Oh, that's high praise, baby. I appreciate that. Thank you, baby." And I was like, "Ah!" I freaked out. Like, just meeting him for the first time, and being able to like tell him, like, telling someone that they're the GOAT is like it's the shortest way to say everything. You know, it's like you're the greatest to ever do this. You mean the world to me. And it was cool how human he was. You know, because I looked up to him as like this god that I would never be able to touch. And yeah, super humble, super nice.
And you were touching knees, or you were
touching knees, bro. Like we were knee to knee. It was crazy. I was like, we're gonna fuse together and create the ultimate.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. So I've heard you actually mention in a previous interview that this Comedy Cellar has been a dream venue for you to perform at. So what's so special about that place to you?
All the greats that I look up to have cut their teeth there. You know what I mean? Like it's not an easy place to get into, and it's also like it's New York, man. It's gritty. You know, you get everything combined into one that you just love. The low ceilings, it's dark, it's intimate. Every show is basically sold out now. The lineups are crazy. You get to work with all the best comics. You know, anybody can drop in, and to perform there it'd be sick because you're working with killers every single night. You don't get on that stage unless you're a killer.
Well, and I've seen like if anyone's following you, they will see that you've been doing movie reviews. I think I saw The Notebook was actually one of them. So are there any movies that you could recommend for our listeners to watch while under quarantine?
I just watched the Eurovision, the new Will Ferrell movie. The movie's so good. Like you gotta watch it twice though. The first time you watch it, you're gonna be like, oh, this is kind of weird. You know, I don't really get it. And then at the end, you're gonna go, oh, I love this. And you rewatch it, and the entire thing is funny. It's so good. It's definitely one you got to watch twice, though. What else? I just watched the Jurassic Park franchise for the first time in my life, and super good. I know that's a common opinion, but it's great.
What type of movies are you generally into?
I love everything. Honestly, my favorite type of movie is like a good, like where you got to figure out who the killer is, like a suspense movie, or like you seen the one where like Knives Out, like that kind of thing. I love that where you got to figure out who committed the crime or who the evil.
Oh yeah,
those are my favorite. So like I kind of got into it with anime. There's an anime called Case Closed.
Okay.
And it was so good. Every episode was just about like trying to find out who committed these crimes, who killed this person. It was great. Yeah. And every episode of CSI or Law and Order I watched, I was like, oh, y'all ripped this off. This is already been done. That's episode 7 of Case Closed. I already know what that is. Not trying to be smooth. That's why I didn't really like Knives Out. It's because I was like, that's 3 episodes of Case Closed. I already know y'all trying to set him up for the money. Mm-hmm.
Oh man, stealing from anime. Didn't know that.
It is, man. That's like.
Well, speaking of animation, man, I've heard in a couple of interviews, and I think in other videos, you mentioned Ninja Turtles, and you kind of badmouthed a couple of them a little bit. So I'm just curious, like, what's your beef with the Ninja Turtles?
It is funny to make fun of the Ninja Turtles. This is so good. Although Donatello sucks. I don't care what anybody says, dude. He has a stick. I'm not afraid of a stick. If I pull up to fight and I see a dude with a sword, a dude with the kunai knives, and a dude with nunchucks, I'm fighting the guy with a stick every time. I don't want to fight a dude with a sword. The stick is getting these hands, bro. Like, no way. What a stupid weapon. I want a stick. You're a dummy. All right. He's the dude that like he's the younger brother that nobody wanted to take out with them, but they're like, you gotta bring your brother. And he's like, all right, we could have been the Ninja Turtle 3. They didn't want him in the group, bro.
So you also have a special out called Sophisticated Ignorance at the Dry Bar. So if anybody's interested in catching that, how would they be able to watch it?
I mean, I've pretty much posted all the clips on all my social media. You can watch them 1 minute at a time, or you can go onto the Dry Bar Comedy app and watch the full thing at once, which is probably the more productive way to do that. But you can go on my YouTube and I put them on there, or just Dry Bar Comedy, the full. I think it's like a 25-minute special.
Yeah.